with this question. If every one of you can see the statement which is there on your screen, I would like to know from all of you what anything which is worth noticing here in the statement. If you can pick a word or anything from the statement which is worth noticing for all of you. If few of you can answer. I will repeat again. You might be seeing a statement on your screen. I would like to know any word which you can pinpoint here or any word you want to pick first from this particular statement.
14-year-old child.
Huh?
14-year-old child.
Child. Okay. Anyone else?
Street fight.
Huh? Street fight. Okay.
Street fight.
One more. If any one of you can pinpoint.
Teenager.
Teenager. Okay.
Teenager.
Thank you. So out of three, at least two of them have pinpointed a child, a teenager, a person in the statement. So this is what I wanted to know your perspective regarding the entire justice system, which we'll be discussing in next few minutes. Next question from my side to you, whether that child, the teenager, which is there in the statement, should that person be punished as an offender? Let me know.
Mom, it was street fight, so maybe there was sudden provocation, and he might
yes
have
or
been.
no. Just yes or no.
Punished.
Yes, ma'am. He should be punished.
Yes. Okay. Two more. One is yes. I need to know two more at least.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One more.
Should not be punished as an offender.
So kindly keep these poll in your mind as we are progressing throughout the entire presentation. It might be a possibility you will change your perspective. So with this statement, because two of you has already pinpointed the word, the correct terminology, child from that specific statement. So for decades, we know that criminal justice system has focused on the offense, the act, but developmental criminology ask a different question. So what happened to the child? So child is in focus. What happened to the child before asking what the child did rather than the action. So we are focusing on the actor here, the child, rather than focusing on the action, which is stabbing mentioned here. So this particular shift represents one of the most important changes we have done in the juvenile justice system. Again, if you'll see that if the child which we have focused in our earlier question can be termed as a victim first. Ball goes to your court. Please let me know yes or no, whether that particular child can be treated as a victim first.
I think so, yes, ma'am.
All three, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Great, thank you. So even researchers, they have consistently showed that a significant portion of juvenile offenders, they have previously experienced physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, family violence, or institutional harm. Even Deeba ma'am, who will be speaking after me, she will also contest on this point that maximum of the children which we are receiving as a juvenile justice system, they had a very bad or objectionable past which we have to cater to. So many offenders, they are victims whose cries for help were never heard. So this gives us a pathway to explain what exactly is victim-offender overlap. So what is this concept? It holds that children who experience repeated victimization have a substantially higher probability of becoming offenders than non-victimized children. So usually victim offender overlap concepts straight away says that victimizes increases risk, but it does not determine the destiny. Why? If any one of you can answer. If I am telling that uh, a person with multiple victimization in their past can turn into an offender, but there are multiple instances in which these people are not turning into the offender. What could be a possible answer for that? That few of them are turning into an offender and few of them are not turning into an offender, and they are obeying law. They are with the society which actually on the other side of the lab. So if any one of you can answer. I'm asking questions in between and I'll do so throughout the session so that the entire thing will not become boring. So please answer.
Could be a defense mechanism, survival, coping mechanism that if I have been victimized, that is how I'm going to cope with future threats or potential threats.
Okay. You are stating that because of victimization, they have learned how to cope up with the thing and they will take it in a positive way in order to improvise. Anyone else?
The trigger mechanism.
Huh?
Trigger mechanism.
Trigger mechanism. Can you explain on that?
So the trigger mechanism, like people who had a very bad past, but the situation which triggers a person whether to act on in a bad way or in a moral way, that situation decides, right? So the trigger mechanism has a pivotal role in this, I feel, I suppose.
Okay. Anyone else who would like to chip in?
If the victim
So
already
from
has passed
yes, please.
so if the victim already has passed the multiple abuses, and there's a point where they break psychologically and go, okay, let's pay it forward, and we'll see what all the consequences we will get.
Okay. So from my end, it will be the existence of protective factors in the environment, in the immediate environment of that particular child, because of which the child is not the conversion from a victim to an offender. It is at halt because of the existence of multiple protective factors which interrupt the pathway from victimization to offender. So there are several theories, also the concepts which explain the relationship between victimization and later offendings, and all these theories features the theme that offending is learned through victimization experiences, and victimization along with offending is experienced by the same group and individuals. These theories or concepts includes intergenerational transmission of violence theories, which is also referred as social learning theory of aggression, which posits that violent behavior is passed down through generations via social learning or a cycle of violence. And violence is also observed to be an effective problem solving technique employed when other options have not been positively reinforced. Also, routine activities or lifestyle perspective theory, which proposes that lack of supervision combined with relationships with deviant peers allows or supports individuals to commit violence. The same variables put the individual at high risk for victimization. Social disorganization theory, which similarly suggests that environment and peer group membership led to victimization, which influences offending. Strain also suggests offending is a coping response to exposure to violence or strain. And similar theories includes social control theory, which posits that people learn offending behavior from their own victimization experiences. Control theory, as a matter of fact, which proposes individual ignore the positive potential negative consequences of their actions leading to criminality and victimization. Now, if you remember the first slide, I'll show you again. Now, I'll give you a perspective, a bit of perspective behind the past of that particular 14-year-old child. Now, imagine a situation when the child was 5-year-old, his mother died, his father was alcoholic. Okay. He was exposed to daily domestic violence. So at the age of 5, because he couldn't go out to earn, his siblings moved out to earn, leaving him alone, maybe in a situation wherein he has to fend for his needs on his own. Now, one of the person out of 3, I guess, one said, yes, the person should be punished. I would like to ask that particular person whether your opinion changes now. Now I have given you a bit of perspective about the past of that child, whether your opinion changes now.
Yes, ma'am. It changes now at the moment.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am. It changes.
Okay, thank you very much. I thought it will be difficult to change the perspective now, but in the first instance only you have changed. Now, let me give you a developmental pathway to delinquency. So we know that all the steps which has been mentioned here, these steps represent a missed intervention opportunity, a point where a caring systems could have been redirected this child in a positive direction. So see, it starts with abuse, then trauma, then emotional dysregulation, school failure, or might be a possibility that school is missed from the entire pathway, peer rejection, or you belong to a peer group which are already in the pathway of negativity, running away, street survival, gang association, drug abuse, violence, ultimately leads to juvenile delinquency. So this is the generic developmental pathway of delinquency, in which each stage represents a point where timely intervention by any caring adult or institution could have altered the trajectory. Are you in sync with the thing? Matlab, if I'm saying that if you will cater to the need of the child, if the child is being abused, if any sort of mechanism, intervention mechanism is in place and actively in place to move the child from that abusive situation, to move the child from that traumatized situation, to help the child to have a positive environment near him. So don't you think that there will be a distraction in the pathway to delinquency? Are you in sync with me on this? Just say yes or no.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
Now,
may I ask you one question?
yes.
A person who cannot control his emotions in the social society, then why we need to allow the person in to participate in the society?
That's a question answered in my subsequent slide. Okay. Just keep that question with you. We'll be answering because I'll be discussing certain theories also, because this thing is not innate in nature. What you are saying, it might be a possibility. Certain amount of genetic influence is there if the child has such behavioral characteristics. But we do have mechanism, the socialization mechanisms, because of which we can make a child learn how to regulate these emotions. The child can definitely learn how to regulate the emotions in a proper manner, in a positively acceptable manner. So somehow, somewhere, that learning mechanism is missing in the child's environment, because of which the child has such kind of behavior. So we'll be answering these things in my subsequent slide. So let's discuss these things one by one. So if we are talking about abuse, we know that children, let's talk about physical abuse first. Example includes physical beatings, torture, burns, injuries, corporal punishment, domestic violence, exposure. The effect could be chronic aggression, hypervigilance, and fear, uncontrolled anger, poor impulse control. So we also know that many abused children, they internalize one core lesson, which is violence solves problem. So let me give you an example here. Suppose a 13-year-old child, boy, beaten daily by an alcoholic father, begins carrying first, matlab initial responses, begins carrying something of a knife or something in his hand for his protection. But eventually he assaults another child during a fight. So my question to all of you is, was he a born violent or was violent taught to him? Please answer.
Violence was taught to him.
Yes. So this is a situation wherein a child is being subjected to excessive violence, where he learned the mechanism that if he wants to save himself, he has to attack. So that is the very basic learning child inherently absorbs, that if I want to survive in this world, in this cruel world, whenever I step out, there will be multiple people, those who will be exposing me to sorts of violence. What I have to do, I have to fight back, the fight back mechanism. What I have to do, I have to instill the fear, a fear in the mind of the people in the society, that oh, I also exist and I can take care of myself. I can handle my own fights. I can also use violence to keep you in your place. So this is something which has been taught to a child. So learning, we also know, all of us, we are criminologists, and we know how differential association theory, differential identification, reinforcement theory, social learning theory gives us a pathway, that how these things are being learned. And we also know that these things can be de-learned if we will give a suitable, a learning environment to the child, wherein child learns, no, this is not the society which you belong to. There is a place where you will be accepted in a very positive way. Let's go to the next abuse, which is emotional abuse, which includes humiliation, shaming, constant criticism, rejection by caregivers, threats, intimidation. Effects could be low self-esteem, depression, withdrawal, anger, hostility, identity confusion, maybe. So these children often seek acceptance and belonging in delinquent peer groups, the only community which accepts them without judgment. Here, I would like to give you an example. When I was doing my doctorate, my doctorate was on sexual abuse of children. So I have come across a group of girls. All three of them were sisters. So they were of age between 10 to 16. So I came across that there were three cases of rape which they have filed. Three different cases of rape over a period of time, which they have filed to the nearest police station. So when I spoke to them, when I spoke to their family members, when I went to the family setup, there I recognized that there is a lack of communication, there is a lack of acceptance of these three girls within the family setup. So they had, apparently they had one brother. So the entire family is focusing more on baby brothers, and three sisters, they were also being forced to take care of the baby brother needs. So they went out, they look for the solace which they wanted from their family members, the acceptability, the solace, the positivity which they wanted from their family members, which eventually they never had. So when they were moving outside, they were making friends, and these friends were taking advantage of their situation. So this is how that entire rape thing came into picture. Next is sexual abuse. So the consequences includes post-traumatic stress disorder, profound shame, self-blame, substance abuses, coping, running away from home, commercial sexual exploitation. We also know that many trafficked children, they are subsequently drawn into theft, drug transportation, and organized crime networks, making exploitation and offending deeply intertwined. And we do have mandatory reporting provisions as a critical first safeguard against escalation when it comes to POXO Act. Next is neglect, which is when it comes to Indian situation, which we never take care of these things when it comes to neglect. The most underestimated form of child abuse. It includes emotional neglect, educational neglect, medical neglect, physical neglect, and supervisory neglect. What children lacks? They lack adequate food, nutrition, education, supervision, healthcare and safety, emotional support and warmth, which results into survival crimes, which could be stealing food or money, begging, vagrancy, drug peddling for survival, pickpocketing, or petty theft. In fact, when I was preparing for this entire thing, I came across a meta-analysis which found that neglect to be one of the adverse childhood experience is most consistently associated with juvenile recidivism, highlighting the importance of urgent and intervention on both the levels. So next is, yes, just wait. Yes. Next is ACE, because from neglect, we came across this terminology, adverse childhood experiences. So this indicates that greater the number of adverse childhood experiences, which is physical abuse, sexual abuse, alcoholic parent, parental separation, emotional neglect, domestic violence, incarcerated parents, or any kind of mental illness in the family, the greater the cumulative risk of violence, substance abuse, mental illness, criminal behavior, and chronic disease. I've also mentioned here the entire study. If you'll click on the link, it will give you the entire write-up wherein you can see how ACE and juvenile violent delinquency, they are correlated in a great manner. So apart from ACE, there is a widened cycle of violence study. So author is Katie Spatz Weidem, which followed abused children for over a period of 20 years. Her findings showed that abused children were significantly more likely to be arrested during adolescence and adulthood, and violent offending was substantially higher among abused children compared to non-abused children. So this became known as cycle of violence hypothesis. So I'll repeat, this became to be known as cycle of violence hypothesis. Sorry, yes. Now gives us the next pathway to the delinquency, which was there in the chart, which is trauma. So let me give you a bit of science behind the trauma. So it physically alters the developing brain. So it might create neurological conditions that make pro-social behavior and self-regulation genuinely difficult and not a matter of choice. So there are three regions which we'll be discussing here: amygdala, prefrontal cortex, and hippocampus. Amygdala is the threat detection center. Effect could be it becomes overactive. The child constantly perceives danger, even if the child is in the safe environment, and brain remains in a state of chronic threat response. So this explains hypervigilance, sudden aggression, extreme reactivity to perceived disrespect or authority. Region 2 is prefrontal cortex, which is decision-making center. Effect of trauma is the entire region remains underdeveloped. Poor decision-making, weak impulse control, difficult anticipating consequences of action, Many juvenile offenders are neurologically operating under chronic stress. What looks like defiance, it might be a survival response that we have to see. Hippocampus, which is memory and learning center, so difficulty learning, processing information, and regulating emotional memories from traumatic events. So therein, school failure often stems directly from trauma-induced learning difficulties, not lack of ability or motivation. So after these, we'll be talking about institutional failure. So there will be multiple institutions which we'll be referring here to. One of the major institution, which is the entire juvenile justice set which we have created. And in fact, multiple other countries, they have also institutionalized a separate juvenile justice setup for both the categories of children that will be taken up by Deeba ma'am. So let's start with family failure. So that is, we all of us will agree on this this point, that this is the primary system which child looks up to. So it fails. Why and how? If the domestic violence or intimate partner abuse is prevalent within the family setup, if parental alcoholism and substance abuse is prevalent, if criminal parents are there, negative role modeling is there within the immediate environment of the child, which incorporates the family members, the peer, the neighborhood, wherein these children are learning from their immediate environment that it is okay to do such activities. Lack of supervision, lack of parental absence, extreme poverty and food insecurity. So family is the child first and most critical protection system. When it fails, all subsequent systems come under strain. And herein, Deeba ma'am, because she has worked with Juvenile Justice Board extensively, and now she is also working with Child Welfare Committee. So she has an exposure of both the categories of children, child in conflict with law, child in need of care and protection. And ma'am will definitely agree with me on this particular point, that maximum of the children, those who are being entered into the setup, maybe as a child in need of care and protection, maybe as a child in conflict with law, they have dysfunctional families. There is somehow, somewhere in their past, failure from the family side. And maybe because of that, our Juvenile Justice Act talks about that we have to uh, improvise the family setup if we want to improve the situation of the child. If we want to transform the future of the child, we have to start working on the family. So somehow, somewhere, law also recognizes, our entire setup also recognizes that family, who is the first responder of the child, should be properly functional in all manner. The secondary system, which is school. School also fails when bullying by peers left unaddressed, teacher violence or corporal punishment is there, suspension and expulsion without support is prevalent, stigmatizing labels, negative expectation and labels, because all of us are criminologists or sociologists here, maybe law person. So we also know the negative impact of labeling here. Dropout without intervention or follow up, we also know that there is an extreme dropout at the primary level. So because we have free primary education which is being given by our government setup, we push our children to have primary education, but there is a huge school dropout rate from primary to secondary. Who is addressing that? Why these dropout are happening? Maybe it is because of the school setup, maybe because of this is happening because of the family failure. There are multiple reasons for that. Are we addressing these reasons why this is happening? Are we intervening at all levels? That's a question to all of you. So what happened to this child? not what is wrong with this child. So this is the question at school level we have to answer, that we have to see why child is doing such things within the school setup, rather than addressing that what is wrong with this child, why this child is not behaving in a normal manner, how other child are behaving. Again, normal is a word. If you will specify the word normal here, normal is something which we have given to the entire setup, that okay, okay, according to us this is normal, so you have to behave in this manner only. If you will not behave, you will belong, you will be pushed to another group which is not normal, which is termed as abnormal. Community failure. So somehow proximity to drug markets. So children, they are being exposed to substance trading, which normalizes criminal economies. Gang recruitments, gang offers belonging, protections, and identity to rejected youth. All of us will agree on this point, that how gangs, the organized gangs, they are taking advantages of young children to commit criminal activities, because somehow somewhere they know that the law which is applicable on these children doesn't have a tooth, so they take advantage of these children. So herein, I remember a case, there was a Delhi case in which a child which was being pushed by a person to it's a hired contract killing. So he was 15. So for 3 years regularly he pushed that child to do that contract killing. So just before he turned 18, a month prior, he committed murder. He entered into the juvenile justice setup. So just to give you a scenario that how these children are being misused or are being abused by the people, that okay, theek hai, if we'll use such children, it might be a possibility that the children will not be caught. And even if the children will be caught, there will be no punishment, or there will be a less punishment for the child. Poverty and deprivation. Economic strain removes protective buffers for vulnerable families. Unsafe neighborhoods, chronic exposure to community violence compounds to trauma. Next is child protection failure. So when the system fails to identify and respond to abuse, the window for effective early intervention closes. So sometimes permanently also. So when police dismisses or minimizes abuse complaints, teachers fail to report visible signs of abuse, childline remains uncontacted by witnesses, child welfare committee intervention is delayed or inadequate in certain situations. Neighbors remain bystanders in silence. Now, when the justice system fails, so children who enters into justice system are often further traumatized by very institutions designed to protect and rehabilitate. And my if I am saying here that when the justice system fail, I am not actually referring to that in all cases the justice system fail. This is a general thing which we are discussing here, ki somehow somewhere, if we as a juvenile justice setup, if we are feeling we are actually transforming a child into an offender, and how we are doing it, it might be a possibility that in few cases police brutality is happening, coercive interrogation or use of force against children, which reinforces fear of authority and deepens mistrust. And herein I would like to add on, because we also know that if you have entered into juvenile justice setup multiple times, so I'm referring here the recidivist children. So we also know that usually if anything which is happening in the vicinity, in the neighborhood, usually police lined up the people, those who have a record earlier. So this also explains how tagging, how labeling turns a person into an offender. Prolonged detention, it could be long pre-trial detention, which disrupts education, family bonds, developmental trajectories. Maybe absence of legal aid. Yes, SP, I have seen your hand. After completing this slide, I'll take your question. Absence of legal aid. So children without legal representation face systematic disadvantages at every stage of proceeding. Institutional abuse, it could be violence, exploitation, neglect within the observation or any child care institution, which compounds to original trauma. Yes, you can ask your question now.
If a child is in observation home for a crime he did, what is the chances of him becoming an habitual criminal?
Can you come again?
A child is inside an observation home for a crime he did at the moment. What are the chances of him becoming an habitual offender because he gets used to the people inside and other children who have committed similar crimes or much heinous or other crimes? What is the chance of him
See,
deviating from this innocence?
I'll answer this, honey. Give me like later on, I think.
thank you, Deeba. I'll also add on. I'll give you an example. I'll
I mean,
quote
there
a
is a term which is
statement
being
given
used,
by a child.
and yeah, I mean, it's always better if we get so many questions, and then it will be, a very interactive and fruitful discussion, I think, instead of just having a lecture session. So yeah, it's well taken, and I really want everyone, you may keep writing in your chat box whatever questions. We could take it up later, honey, right?
No, you can answer now also. I will also add on.
No, not now. I'll put it later.
Okay, okay. I'll give my perspective. So you know that prisons. There are multiple researches. There are multiple theories which states that prison are being treated as the learning centers, the breeding centers to learn criminality. The same is there when it comes to home. So there is no division. So all sorts of children, they are living together because we cannot differentiate that if the child has committed rape, the child has committed murder, or the child who has committed theft. So we will differentiate based on the type of crime which they have committed. So we are treating them as children overall. So somehow during their interaction, they learn. They learn the commission of crime. They also learn the reasons which can be given. So there is also a theory which explains that you learn the commission of crime, and you also learn the reasoning which you are supposed to give to the society why you have committed crime. So everywhere learning is there, everywhere. Even if you will keep the child outside, they will learn from media. Social media is everywhere, and you know how media is transforming the mind of young children. So if you will say that if you will detach them from media, this is impossible. So learning is everywhere. So learning comes from the home also. Point is, we have to see whether that learning is good enough, whether the children can differentiate between the right or wrong, whether we are instilling the right knowledge in the mindset of the children or not. I'll give you an example in this. So I am, along with my two of my other colleagues, we are doing a research study on juvenile recidivism, which has been given by Bureau of Police Research and Development. So over past 2 months, we have been exposed. We have communicated with many children in conflict with law, those who are recidivists. So one of the statement which was given by one of the child, I would like to quote that statement here. The child says that I have a crime career till I will turn 18. So this is also something, some sort of learning which he might have acquired from multiple places. He knows that till 18 he'll be governed by Juvenile Justice Act. So this is something which has been instilled in their mind that, oh, the crime career is there till 18. So I will do whatever I want to do till I will turn 18. After 18, then I will give a thought whether I want to have a crime career or not. or I want to go back to other careers, if I'll get a chance to enter into different areas. Everywhere we have to see whether that learning is instilled in a proper manner. If I have been taught, okay, theek hai, if you want to exist in this society, you should have power. Power comes from committing, if you will commit such activities, if you will do 2-3 murders, so everyone will be fearful. So that power they enjoy. So if we will make them learn, oh no, that is that's not all. There are multiple other ways also through which you can enjoy power which is some power which comes from legal ways, power which is societally acceptable. So learning is everywhere. We have to make sure that learning comes from the right channel. And even if the learning is coming from the wrong channel, the child should have such mindset that the child should start questioning those learnings also. Okay, theek hai, no, you are wrong. Child should have the understanding that child will be able to answer, "Oh, whatever you are teaching me, this is wrong." So there are multiple other ways to address these situations. There is not a single way what you are teaching me to address this situation. I hope I have answered your thing. Later on, Deeba ma'am will also add on.
Okay,
So
ma'am.
this
Thank you, ma'am.
is the, thank you.
If you want me to, I mean,
These,
since you have responded, Honey, I would like to just give one question to Abish, right? It was your question. The habitual offender, am I audible?
yes,
Yes,
you are.
ma'am.
Huh. So it was your question, right? Habitual offender, and what if he's like causing issues to other children in the home, right? That was your question. Hmm? Abish, could you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You are audible.
Yeah. So my question to you is habitual offender meaning by there must be a first time, and now it must be second, third, or fourth, or fifth time, right? So where
Yes, ma'am.
was the juvenile justice system? Where was the society and family when it happened for the first time? So whether child is responsible for this third, fourth, fifth time, or the system is responsible. Because when we keep saying the system is for rehabilitation and reformation, and where was the system when it happened for the first time? So we should be, I mean, that's what I keep saying. I mean, there are certain terminologies, that's why I wanted to just enter. And this habitual offender is generally used is, I mean, offense. I mean, I have not come across with any theory so far that offense is an addiction. Is it? Committing offense is an addiction. If someone is addicted to commit an offense, then definitely for sure that person is sick. That person is going through some serious mental disorder. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, now coming back to my perspective. So there are multiple theories which I have told you in earlier discussion also. There are multiple theories which explains the conversion from a victim to an offender. So I will quote few of the theories. There are multiple others also. So let me quote few of them here. So first is social learning theory, which was given by Bandura. So it posits that people acquire new behaviors, attitudes, and emotional reactions by observing and imitating others within a social context. So it emphasizes observational learning or modeling, suggesting that we can learn complex tasks simply by watching a model, even without direct experience or immediate rewards. So there are four mediational processes which Bandura spoke about. attention, retention, reproduction, motivation. Attention is something which learner must first notice, focus on the model's behavior. Unique or high status models often command more attention. Retention is something which observer must be able to remember the behavior by forming a mental representation or coding it into a memory for use. Reproduction is individual must have the physical and mental capability to perform the behavior. They have motivation is learning must have a reason to act, often driven by vicarious reinforcement, seeing the model rewarded or punished for their actions. So usually children, they imitate violent parents, criminal siblings, gang leaders, or anyone, or the negative peers. So violence becomes normal for them. Second theory is general strain theory, which is given by Agnew. So it provides a framework for understanding the relationship between how strain and criminal behavior relates. It explains that crime and delinquency often arise as a coping mechanism in response to stressful life events and strained social relationships. Unlike earlier strain theories that primarily focuses on lower socioeconomic class, Agnew's approach is all classes, emphasizing that individuals from middle and upper class too can engage in criminal acts because of strain. The theory identifies three main types of strain, which is failure to achieve positively valued goals, which could be academic success, removal of positive stimuli like losing a loved one, which also gives us the example that how many children in conflict with law, those who are being registered with the juvenile justice setup, have the dysfunctional family. So there are multiple of them. Third one is presentation of negative stimuli, which could be bullying. So each of these strains can lead to negative emotions, which may push some individual towards criminal behavior as a means of coping. Additionally, this general strain theory takes gender differences into account, recognizing that males and females may perceive and react to stressors differently. So this can give us an example why female children in conflict with law are less in comparison to male children in conflict with law. Overall, this theory has implications for policymakers, suggesting the need for targeted programs to help individuals develop coping skills tailored to different gender and socio-economic contexts, thereby addressing root causes of crime and delinquency. Next is attachment theory, which was given by Bowlby. So it emphasizes the importance of early emotional bonds between the child and their caregiver. So herein, if the caregiver is absent, maybe because of multiple reasons, if the parent is dead, one of the main parent is dead, or if the parent is not available for the child for anything. So in both the circumstances, the caregiver is a miss. Bowlby proposed that these bonds are vital for survival and emotional development, serving as a foundation for future relationships. He also believed that children, those who are biologically programmed to form attachments, which will help them feel secure and navigate their environment. So he described attachment behavior, which includes sighing, smiling, clinging, and following as instinctive, activating whenever proximity to the caregiver is threatened by separation, fear, or insecurity. How it works actually? So when a caregiver is consistently responsive and sensitive to the child needs, the child develops a sense of trust and security. This security allows the child to venture out and explore their environment, knowing they have a safe haven to return to. The caregiver's availability acts as a safe base, fostering the child's independence and confidence. As a child ventures out, the caregiver provides attentive monitoring and empathetic responsiveness. Returning to a familiar, comforting figure replenishes the child's emotional balance. So each cycle of exploration grows the child confidence and sense of mastery. Here I would like to give you our experience, the research which I referred to. So when the team of ours, they were communicating with the children, we asked them, if you can draw a safe place, if you can draw a person who is actually considered as a person which is considered to be a safest place wherein you can go and speak to that person regarding anything. Maximum of them didn't get the concept of having a safe place or having a safe person in your life. So this is a food for thought for all of you. When you are done with this lecture, when you will go to sleep, think about it. Do you have a safe haven? Do you have a safe place? Do you have a safe person wherein in any adverse situation, in any adverse environment, you can go speak to that person, or you can go to that particular place and relax? Okay, so Bowlby also refers to that all of these attachment which primarily initiates with the caregiver, it lands you in a situation which can give you a very safe environment wherein you can think what is right, what is wrong for you. So Bowlby also refers to when we have poor attachment, we have poor empathy, we have poor emotional regulation, it will lead to antisocial behavior in one or the other way. Next theory is bond theory, which was given by Hershey, which popularized the modern version of this framework, which is known as came to be known as bond theory, which identifies four core elements that keep individuals anchored to the societal norms. So what are those bonds? First is attachment, which is emotional connections to the others, which could be family, which could be peer, which could be mentors. So if all of these are absent, so that means there is somehow, somewhere wrong with the attachment wala bond. So people avoid deviance to prevent disappointing those they care about. Next bond is commitment, which is investment in conventional goals, which could be education, career, or property ownership. So to lose are likely to risk it by committing crimes. Next bond is involvement, which is active participation in socially acceptable activities, which could be sports, volunteer work. So being busy leaves less time and opportunity for delinquent behavior. The last bond which he referred to was belief. So acceptance and respect for society's laws and moral values. So these internal moral compasses deters an individual for committing illegal acts even when the risk of getting caught is low. Next is life course theory, which was given by Sampson and Law. So basically, the life course, why they have turned it as a life course theory, because they have uh, experimented, they have gone through the life of the youngsters. The exact theory is age-graded informal social control theory, which was an attempt to explain the childhood antisocial behavior, adolescent delinquency, and adult crime. So the key component of this theory is that delinquency and crime have an inverse relationship with an individual bond to the society. So this theory organized around three major themes. First is informal family and school social controls, which are considered to be as fundamental social structures which influences behavior and explain delinquency in childhood and adolescence. Second is antisocial behavior in childhood, which has a strong likelihood of continuing through adulthood across a variety of life domains. Finally, informal social control in adulthood explains changes in criminal behavior over the lifespan, independent of prior individual differences in criminal propensity. In crime in the making, that's the writing which Sampson and Lobb gave, pointed out three components of informal social control in family context. One is consistent discipline. Another one is monitoring, has to be consistent nature. The third one, which is most important, is the attachment to the family. So to the extent that these three link the child to the family and ultimately to the society, they inhibit delinquency. So these three components of informal control can reduce delinquency through emotional bonds or through direct control. Is there any question or the mic turned on? Okay. So when we institution and the prevention of delinquency, attachment to school performance are again inversely related to delinquency. Age-graded theory of informal social control also suggested that social structural factors such as family disruption, employment, residential mobility, and socioeconomic status indirectly affect delinquency through social bonds. Next is Brenner's ecological system theory, which posits that individuals' development emerges from interconnected environmental system spanning intimate to societal level. Intimate starts from family, societal level could be a cultural attachment, which they referred to. So these systems include five set of system. One is micro system, another one is meso system, third is exo, fourth is macro system, and five is chrono system. All these of system, these five systems influencing growth and behavior. I will not dug deep into all these system. If you want me to do it, I will do it. Just say yes or no. You want a bit of explanation for all the five system? Okay, I'll treat this as no. Next is labeling theory. Okay, DK, I can see your hand raised. You have any question?
From the previous thing, but okay, that can pass. I had a question from the previous slide.
Which one?
I wanted you to explain thoda sa that how are girls less likely to become children in conflict with law? How are females less likely? If you could briefly
That's the socialization. That's the socialization. You might have seen in your family also, somehow the male children, the proximity in which they are being reared, the male child and the female child, if they are reared in the same environment, the people out there, they are okay if the male child, they are reacting aggravatingly. Matlab, if they are reacting to a situation in an adverse manner, they are okay with that. So if we do have a girl child in the home, if they are also reacting in the same manner, they intervene, they tell, okay, no, this is not the way you should react. This is not the way you should react. In terms of crying also, you might have observed if within your family setup, within Indian family setup also, if the boy child cries, they say, no, you are not supposed to cry. If the girl child cries, okay, theek hai, you can cry. Girls, they are more into communication, telling their problem. It is okay for them if they are communicating their issues with the near and dear ones, because they listen to them. Okay? Boys, whenever they are coming with the problem, they say, okay, you are a boy, you are a male, you can handle your own problems. So you devise the solution, implement it. We are okay with everything which you are doing. But for when it comes to female, they are being taught, they are being tutored. So somehow they know that for every issue, I have to go and speak to someone so that I get a solution. So somehow, somewhere they know, okay, there are multiple people around me who can decide for me. So when it goes to male children, they know that they are supposed to fend for themselves for everything. If they have any issue, they are supposed to sort this issue on their own. If the girl comes with a problem, the parents, they intervene and take charge of the situation. When the boy comes with the problem, they say, you go out and sort your own issue. So you in your family setup, but this is the situation of Indian families by and large.
Understand, ma'am. Understood.
Okay, so coming back to the labeling thing, it was given by Becker. So the perspective is a bit of sociological in nature and criminology. We have imbibed labeling theory in our domain too. Explains how being labeled by others can shape a person's identity and behavior. It suggests that deviance isn't just about what someone does, but about how society reacts to it. So when people are being tagged as troublemakers or criminals, they may internalize that label and act in ways that reinforce it. Again, a small example from our own families. When the child they do naughty things, they do destruct the family setup. So we say, okay, theek hai, ye to bache, they are very naughty, they are badtameez, they don't listen. So we usually label them with these things. When they started internalizing these labels, ki end of the day, even if we are doing something constructive, so during that constructive thing wala cheese, if some destruction happened, they will not understand us. They will say with the same thing that, okay, theek hai, I am worth nothing, I am destroying everything. So better to do such things and not to let them know that I am destructing something. So this is how you internalize certain things, and you keep on moving with these internalized labels in your life. So it started with the entire labeling thing started with Tenenbaum, the tagging theory by Frank Tenenbaum. So he argued that when society react harshly to a minor rule breaking act, so it can dramatize the behavior as evil. This can make the person see themselves as bad or criminal type, which then leads to more serious deviance. Then Becker came in his book Outsiders. He argued that deviance is not about what people do, but about how others respond to it. So he said that deviant behavior is behavior that people so label, and that powerful groups, what he called as moral entrepreneurs, often decide which behavior count as deviant. Then Lemmet also came, introduced the term primary deviance, which is initial rule breaking, and gave secondary deviance concept, which is when someone accepts and lives up to the deviant label. He also argued that social reaction and control can actually create more deviance. The last one is re-victimization, which was more or less a concept given by Finkelor and Brown, which states that the children who have experienced abuse or neglect often continue to face victimization even after entering the juvenile justice setup. Continued exposure to bullying, institutional abuse, or social reaction can increase the risk of repeated offending. So just to give you a brief about the risk factors which are available in the immediate environment of a child. It could be at individual level, our impulsivity, hyperactivity, ADHD, and learning disability, substance use, mental health condition with the substance. Again, I would like to our experience from the study. Maximum of the children, when they committed the offense, they were intoxicated. They accepted that even if the thing started with a small banter, small discussion, it led to the violent crime because of that intoxication under which they were in that situation. At family level, abuse and neglect, criminal parents, extreme poverty, weak parental supervision. At school level, dropout, expulsion, peer bullying, academic failure, negative labeling. At community level, gang presence, drug markets, community violence, weapon availability. At institutional level, we have weak child protection system, poor rehabilitation, delayed intervention system, or re-traumatization. So there is no single risk factors which determines delinquency. It is the accumulation and interaction across level that matters, and each level is also a potential site for intervention. So if intervention happens at a correct level with a good support system, so it might be a possibility that the trajectory which is converting a person into a criminal can stop. So along with risk factors, why again, coming back to the same question, why children, those who are being in a situation which has multiple risk factors, they don't commit crime because of these protective factors which are there, which are instrumental, which are active, because of which they are not converting into criminals. So it could be a secured attachment, which incorporates a trusted, consistent caregiver relationship, school engagement, positive school engagement, which is academic connection and belonging, sports and recreation, wherein they have a way out to channelize their excessive energy through an acceptable mechanism, positive peer group, which is pro-social belonging and identities, caring adult mentor, which is, it could be any adult apart from the family who sees the child's potential, counseling to trauma-focused therapeutic support if it is available to the child at the time when the child requires it, vocational training, skills and economic independence, and early intervention, which is timely identification, and the prevalence of good support system. This I'll skip. Uh, with this, I will give to Deeba ma'am, because Deeba ma'am will be speaking extensively on the setup which handles both the category of children, just that we do have a trauma-informed juvenile justice system. Is this that somehow, somewhere we have to improvise it a bit more. So when it comes to safety, we have to create physically and emotionally safe environment for disclosure and healing for the child, trust building, consistent, reliable relationships through honest and respectful conduct, respect, so upholding dignities regardless of the offense. Dignity is not a reward of good behavior, but this is something which everyone has it and we have to respect it. Choice, restoring a sense of agency and control that trauma routinely stripes away. Collaboration, so working with the child, not on the child, should shared goals rather than imposed directives. Empowerment, which is identifying and building on strengths rather than cataloging deficits. So just to give you the context, that the old question was, what is wrong with you? We cannot ask the child that what is wrong with you, because it assigns blames, shutdowns dialogue, misses the story. The right question to ask is, what happened to you? So it opens understanding, enables intervention, tells the real story, which will help us, which will help the entire setup, the entire juvenile justice setup, to establish a proper person specific rehabilitation mechanism for the child, so that the child stops at the stage where the child has entered into the juvenile justice setup. So this is where I will close my discussion. Now I would like to request Deeba ma'am to take up her thing, and later on we'll take up questions together.
Thank you, Honey. Good morning to all of you, and thank you, IC, for giving me this opportunity to speak on this forum. And thank you, Honey, again, once again, for making my discussion easier because where you started, I think now, like you have elaborated in terms of theories and data and other aspects that I think what I'm going to speak will be um, easier for participants to understand. So before going forward to my I have also prepared this presentation. So before going on to that, I am going to read certain there is a report format. So from that, and I would like to ask you what exactly these reports are seeking, right? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So other than name and parents' name and that, there is a question whether the format question is whether the child is differently abled, such as like any hearing impairment, speech impairment, physically disabled, and then there is a family detail, family history, which includes name and relationship of the person in the family, and education, occupation, income, health status, history of mental illness, if any, and addiction, if anyone in the family. And then whether the child had ever run away from home, and whether there is a history of involvement of family members in any of the offenses, certain habits of the child, it is asking like smoking, alcohol consumption, drug usage, pegging, reading books, playing games indoor or outdoor, watching TV, drawing, painting, etc. Any employment detail, and what does the child do with that income? Sent to family for family needs or used for dress, gambling, alcohol, smoking, and educational background. And if child is a dropout, then what are the reasons? They are mentioned: failure in class, or lack of interest in school activities, indifferent attitude of the teachers, peer group influence to earn and support for the family, sudden demise of any of the parent, bullying in school, rigid school atmosphere, absenteeism followed by running away from school, abuse in school, humiliation in school, corporal punishment, and the details which what kind of school the child had gone to, any vocational training, the friends child has, they are whether educated, illiterate, of the same age group, or older in nature, younger in nature, same sex, opposite sex, addicts, any antisocial background, and whether child has been subjected to any form of abuse, verbal, from parents, siblings, employers, or any physical abuse, sexual abuse, or whether child was a victim of any offense or used by any adult group. So these are it is from one of the form, and similarly there is another a bit detailed form. So what do you all think? What is this interview form is seeking? You have had a detailed discussion on theories and everything. So it is a form, it is an interview format, and what do you think it is seeking? You can speak, please.
I think it is a social investigation report form that you have just read. And as discussed by ma'am, what the form is trying to do is get a full history of the child from like what is the social economic background of the child, whether
Hmm.
the
Hmm. Okay.
earlier what is the educational status, like whether the child is a dropout or not. Then like has experienced any kind of abuses, to know whether the
Yeah.
child has any trauma and
So
past
what
history,
exactly
including
is the
whether
purpose? I mean, from this form,
the
what
child
is
has
the
been.
purpose? What do you think there? What could be the purpose of this form?
Purpose means when a child is in front, for example, instead of seeing the crime that the child committed, seeing the crime alone, what the board or the professionals is trying to see is the
Fine.
whatever
Anyone
which
else
the
would like
child
to
is
add
coming.
on?
Uh,
Yeah. Okay, Uma. Yeah. Any other? Any other input? Could we make it more interactive so that otherwise it will be very boring lecture, I'm telling you. Was it audible at all, whatever I was speaking? Yes or no, at least?
Yes, ma'am.
So like anything to add on to what Uma was speaking? So the question is, I have read over an interview form, a format per se, and there were certain questions. So what is the purpose of this? What could you get it? I mean, Uma has stated regarding getting this socio-economic status of the person, of the child. Anything else? Well, so like Honey was continuously talking about, and the whole discussion today we are having is pathway from victim to offender, right? And the neglect and any neglect and any form of failure, institutional failure, leads to the offending behavior. That is what all Honey was substantiated by various studies and the theories of criminology, and that is quite applicable to children. So but when we talk about children, and when we talk of, see, I'm coming from the background of the implementation. I worked with the juvenile justice board and I was adjudicating those cases of children. So those theories are there, but how those theories are translated into the at the level of implementation. So the form which I was prior to this is actually form 1 of the Juvenile Justice Act, Juvenile Justice Model Rules. It is called Social Background Report. And that was the form, and that is how a case of child, for the first time when the child is produced before the Juvenile Justice Board, essentially along with the FIR, whatsoever the alleged offense has been committed against the child, the law provides that the person who is producing the child, in majority of the time the police official producing the child, has to come up with these reports. Got it? Yeah, Abhishek.
What if the child is a part of an organized crime sector, so he knows what he's doing? Someone in cold blood, someone on some.
I'll come to that. I'll come to that. I'll come to that. I'll write a question. So, organized crime, right? Let me start my presentation. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
My presentation is visible? Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Why can't I see it here? So yeah. So do you understand what I have stated, like this, how it is implemented at the ground level? I can't see you guys. If anyone is raising hands, I mean, I don't know. Honey, could you help me? I am on my screen, but well. So I would like to make this session somewhat interactive, and please speak because I am not able to see your hands or anything. Just stop me in between and keep asking questions. I'm open to that, right? And what I'm going to discuss today is how this juvenile justice system functions, right? So in this juvenile justice system, the first thing which is, I mean, anyone is having any idea, like we have the juvenile justice system, which is 170 years old.
Hey, ಗಮ್ಮಡಿರಿ smoke on ನಾನು.
Pardon? It is, I mean, kind of handicap I think I'm having. Can't I see it here? Someone is raising hands and I have to come back here on this. Why can't I see this presentation on the screen? Anyone from the organizing? Just a second.
Just checking if the it has been over or it has been continued.
Yes,
So
yes,
could you
it will
see my
be
presentation?
continued.
Because I was trying to open it and share it. I couldn't see it on the screen. And that is the problem.
It's there. Deeba ma'am, it's there on the screen.
It's there, but then I'm not on this page. So I cannot see you or interact with you that ways. And that is why I really want people to please speak, right? I mean, are they there? Who all are there? Could you please just say yes or no? Or, I mean, then I will start my presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
So I really request you all to please, respond because I'm not on the screen. Otherwise, it will look like I'm talking to myself. So I really want if you open your, respond when I ask or anything, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Please. Thank you so much. So so Honey ma'am has already, in at length was speaking about those theories of neglect and how it is causing a child to become an offender. And then I discussed this at the level of implementation while at the Juvenile Justice Board, how we take into consideration the same factor and how we take it into consideration. So then I would like to now talk about how this juvenile justice system currently has taken the shape what it has taken. So these theories, whatever ma'am was discussing, was like these are the theories of 20th century. Majority of them are post World War, and Europe has, kind of evolved and come up with these aspects and started understanding the needs and neglect of children and how that is causing child into turning them into delinquent behavior children, and how to deal with them. However, in India, we have like the history, which is, somewhat before that. So and that is what I was discussing, that this juvenile justice system in India is somewhat 170 years old. Is it like something interesting, exciting for you, or just like that? Anybody was aware of this fact? Were you guys?
Oh, ma'am.
Yeah. So that is something we need to know, that generally what is juvenile justice. When we talk of juvenile justice and you talk to anyone who is working in this system, and especially at international setup, when we talk of juvenile justice, it is always talked in terms of children who are the offender. These are the legal processes, the adjudication of children committing an offense. So juvenile justice is considered in that aspect. However, in a wider sense, when we look at it, then juvenile justice is, when technically speaking, then juvenile justice has always taken note of children in need of care and protection in India. So the first legislation, which was enacted in 1850, the Apprentices Act, it was applied to children who were below the age of 15 years and those who were found to have committed petty offense or vagabonds. And instead of sending these children to jail or to adult jail and such confined setup, they were given for apprenticeship. Fine. And similarly, I'll now talk about further. So this is how the juvenile justice system has taken its shape. So those children, in 1850, the Apprentices Act came. Then 1898, the Reformatory Schools Act came, which also understood that children who were below 15 who are found to be on the other side of the law, who are in conflict with the law, are actually neglected children. And it was clearly understood. And instead of sending these children to prison, they were sent to reformatory schools. Later on, there is a jail committee report, which is also known as Mullah Committee report, which clearly stated, and it was a, we say, those who are working in the area of juvenile justice, it is actually the seed sown by the Mullah Committee report, the All India Jail Committee, which categorically stated that children, the prison is not suitable for children, including adolescents under the age of 18 years, and it recognized their vulnerability and recommended that a separate justice system has to be there. And going by that, there was a Madras Children's Act, there was Bombay Children's Act, and there was Bengal Children's Act. So these are all pre-independence, where these children acts were there, and they were understanding the needs of children. They were understanding what Honey Ma'am was discussing, that children require a different kind of treatment, right? And why it is there? So have you gone through this concept of mens rea?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And along with that mens rea, in cases of children, it is understood that no human child could survive and develop into an adult until there is a a proper supervision, there is a family, there is a natural parent or any other family or guardian. They are supposed to be taking care of these children. And when they are not there, when there is family is not there, when there is immediate guardian is not there, then it is the role of the state. The state has to step into the shoes of parents to provide care and protection. And also it is understood that children, they do not have that maturity as an adult offender to commit an offense. These two concepts are the foundational concepts which is understood and which is still there, and these are the premise of having a separate judicial setup for children. Okay. But there was an issue earlier, which is and which is still there since I'm working in this area, and many of us, we come across with people in child protection system, and when you talk to them, and they come up with this understanding, oh, I want to work with children because I feel for them and they require our help. And it is kind of the approach is kind of welfareistic. So earlier the approach was welfareistic, that if state is doing something, it is out of a goodwill, and if some individual is doing it, is kind of charitable. Then that has changed after the UNCRC. Prior to that, there was Geneva Declaration and UN Declaration of Child Rights and United Nations Conventions of Child Rights, which came in the year 1989, and India has signed it. And there are certain non-negotiable rights of children which are supposed to be, they we need to consider it at all the level. So the first thing which I really want to express it here, because we are still till date, despite talking about the rights and children's rights, and it's been like 1989 was like, it's been years, but still those who are functioning in the area of children, till the time we do not consider like going to school, being safe, having education, and having such decent environment, are the rights of children, of rights of them. Till the time we are not we are not doing any good to them. I would like to stop here, and I would like to ask you people any questions, anything on parents, pet rea or mens rea. No questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So, but then later we were having so many, as I mentioned, in after jail committee, there these juvenile justice, these children acts were there, but these acts were in few states. Later on, post independence, there was one model, the Children's Act came, and it was in all the states. It was implemented, and there were certain issues which was observed in that. So, would you like to know about it? I'll definitely be sharing this. So there are age-related thing which was there. It is something very important, the age thing, because I'll culminate on this only, and it is still there. So the age of a child, so when you read, when you would like to know the age of a child, then child labor act is talking something else, child marriage act is talking something else, juvenile justice act is talking something else. So still we are struggling to find one age. However, after the UNCRC, the age which is defined under UNC, but from where that age has come up is again a question. So 18 is the age of a child which was considered. However, here I'm talking about the age which was taken in the year of in the Children's Act. For that, there were two age. So for the boys, the age was, I mean, anyone. I'm talking about the age of a child. So for boys, it is still 16. A boy is a child, and a girl till 18, she's a child. And then in in the act of in the act of Madras Act, the children were not sent to the prison, but there was a, in certain cases, in certain cases, it was the adjudicating bodies, the children court was there, and they could send these children to prison in exceptional circumstances. That was there, right? And in the post 1960 Act, the Children's Court was there for the offending children. Earlier, there was just one body was there. That was the Children's Court. But when the Act was implemented all over India, and in this Children's Act of 1960, first time the Child Welfare Committee, it came up, and which was dealing exclusively with neglected children. And also, earlier children could be sent to prison, but when the act was implemented, the new act came in the year 1960, no child was sent to the prison. And there were different institutions which were recognized, which is continuing till date. There is the observation home, which is for child during pending inquiry. Children were sent to observation home, whether the inquiry is before the Children's Court or before the Child Welfare Committee, whether it is regarding a child who is an alleged offender, or a child who is a neglected child before, I mean, pre-delinquent state child. The observation home was there for both kind of children. And after the inquiry period, if it is found out that the child has actually committed an offense, then the child was sent to special home, where a different kind of setup was there to deal with these children, because they were found to be somewhat more difficult children, and to a children's home to those children who were neglected children. Consider a child who is abandoned or who has been separated from the family. So it is still continuing now. Even we have children's home for children who are in need of care and protection, and special home for children in conflict with law. Right? Then there was an interesting phenomena that occurred, like despite of having this provision of absolute prohibition of sending children to jails, a journalist, namely Sheila Bursey, she filed a habeas corpus petition in Supreme Court, and she brought up these many children, that those who were still lodged in jails, right? And then there was this Juvenile Justice Act came, and the word children has been, we have done away with Children's Act, which is like causing immense issue even now in terms of understanding the whole system. Because still, when you talk of juvenile, you go out and you generally you talk anyone who is a juvenile, then it is juvenile is a person who is an offender, and child is a sweet child. So that is the difficulty we are dealing on day-to-day basis. How a word, how a terminology, how how negative connotation attached to a word affects the approach and well-being. So this word juvenile has been stigmatized, and it happened because everywhere the Beijing rule came up in 1985. Beijing rule is actually it is the guiding principle, it is the standard guideline how to adjudicate the cases of juvenile in conflict with law. So because of that, to come up with the terminology of international terminology, because it was not understood during that time what it will bring up to. So then we have come up with this Juvenile Justice Act of 1986. Okay. And for the first time, in Juvenile Justice Act earlier, there was only judicial officers were there. The one thing which has been introduced in the Juvenile Justice Act of 1986 was introduction of two social workers, two people coming from the area of sociology, psychology, behavioral sciences, criminology, education. Those two social workers or members were they were not called members, they were there at that time to assist the board. Okay, so it is something which has happened for the first time. And then came the act of Juvenile Justice Act 2000. I'm discussing all this because it is essential to understand, though the law always, the legislation always considered that children are supposed to be treated differently. We were far ahead. We have had our legislation, those who were, I would call it quite progressive, even 170 years ago, and how it has taken the shape which is here, the way it is. So in this act of 2000, by this time UNCRC was already there. India has signed the United Nations Conventions for the rights of children, and therefore the age was considered as 18, and this uniform age for girl and boy, it was taken into the consideration, which is continuing till date. The age of a child as per Juvenile Justice Act is someone who is below the age of 18 is a child, right? That person who has committed an offense at when the person is at the time of commission of the offense, the person is below the age of 18 is a child in conflict with law. And the person uh, who is found to be in difficult circumstances, those circumstances has been mentioned, and they are children in need of care and protection. And there is those structures, institutions has been which is there earlier, but now observation home is exclusively for children who are in conflict with law, and children homes exclusively even pending inquiry until the time restoration is not occurring. The children home is for children in need of care and protection. So everything was going fine till 2012. So there were two things which happened in the year 2012. First, POXO Act was implemented. which is Hunny ma'am has discussed, and Nirbhaya happened. So now I would like to come back to this screen, and I would like to have, okay, there was a chat box something. So yeah, so what happened in the year 2012 that led to something. So as I'm continuously speaking, uh, this Juvenile Justice Act was progressive. It has always considered children's different circumstances. It has always considered children require an adult supervision. It has always considered children, those who are committing an offense are actually neglected children. It is always considered like mens rea. I mean, children, they do not have that mental ability to commit an offense. It is always understood that it is the failure of the family as an institution or school as an institution. That is why children are delinquent children, right? However, what happened, these two incidents of like the implementation of POXO and the Nirbhaya case, and so much of discussion around this led to amendment, and JJ bill was introduced in the year 2014, and it was passed in 2015, and it was implemented in 2016. And this new age 16 to 18 in heinous offense was introduced, and 16 years old child, if found to if LH2, not found. I mean, yesterday Supreme Court has come up with a new judgment and how this preliminary assessment under Section 15 has to be committed. So when there is a case who is reported, and that this person has committed an offense, and the person is found to be more than 60, the person is found to be more than 16 years old on the date of commission of offense, and the person has committed the heinous offense. So heinous offense is defined where the minimum punishment is mentioned as 7 years, 7 years or more, but minimum is mentioned as 7 years. So in such offenses, juvenile justice board has to do a preliminary assessment on the circumstances in which the offense has been committed, and how that the circumstances, and the physical and mental ability to commit the offense, and the person having the understanding to know the consequences of the offense. Although it is just mentioned in these three lines, but it is really difficult till date how to, I mean, and once it is found out that that person who is more than 16 committed a heinous offense and has the ability to, has the mental and physical ability, and has understood the having the ability to understand the consequences of the offense, could be tried as an adult. Okay, so that was introduced, and that is still going on, and at Juvenile Justice Board we are still struggling. So that was something. When we talk of anyone, what is Juvenile Justice Act of 2015, which is the currently the implementation of the juvenile justice system. This legislation is applicable. However, there is one thing which is something quite beautiful and new, which was introduced. I would like to discuss that from now on, and I would like to have certain, some of you seeking questions, and how even now the whole concept of neglected children to be, and those who are found on the other side of the law, found to be a delinquent children, and how we deal with them despite, so Juvenile Justice Act is not just about the introduction of 16 to 18 as heinous offense, but there is more to it, because it is understood like neglect, abuse, abandonment. So these are the factors which push the child towards, you know uh, the offending behavior. So there are certain, and under Juvenile Justice Act, there are two categories of children. One is a child who is in need of care and protection, and there is a other category of child who is in conflict with law. The child who is in conflict with law is exclusively dealt by Juvenile Justice Board, and because the adjudication, the power and authority is that of Juvenile Justice Board, and the child in need of care and protection is before a child welfare committee. Fine. So am I clear till now, or it is becoming super technical?
It's clear, ma'am.
Everyone is there, or everyone has just been there and gone somewhere else?
We are here, and it's grassroots level of information, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, I could see a raised hand. Who is there? Could you please open your camera? Because the further discussion, I really want to see faces. Nobody's there?
I have a question.
Yeah, please switch on your camera and let's have a discussion, because whatever I'm discussing, you can Google it up and you can read about it. And yeah, thank you so much, Dheeraj. And if whosoever could open your camera, I understand. I mean, so it will be easier for me to interact and look at you and then discuss, because in any ways online sessions, and then it's difficult. Anyone else is there? Ganeshka, raise your hand.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Any
Actually,
question? Yes.
yes, ma'am. I am Ganesh Khanna. I have a question with you.
Yeah.
Ma'am, juvenile justice laws are primarily based on chronological age, right? Like, however, we have seen many cases involving extremely serious offences committed like by minors. For example, Junka Furuta case from Japan and the Delhi gang rape case on 2012. So in such situations, do you think the chronological age alone should determine the criminal responsibility, or some factors like psychological maturity, intent, or understanding of consequences also be considered? And is there any case of reassessing the current age threshold, ma'am?
Yes. So see, we have to have an age, right? And that is the question. Word over, it was dealt by, and that is why, and it is still we are struggling, and it is not just India, but howsoever, we have come up with an age which is the age of a child. What is the age of a child, right? So the age of a child is 18. It is universally taken as 18 is the age of a majority, right? And whether, I mean, there are certain factors, yes, there are certain medical factors. So physiological factors were actually considered while deciding the age as 18. So but the mental age, the person attaining the maturity and understanding. So if you were there while Honey ma'am was discussing, so we have studies which is showing the frontal cortex of the brain, which is responsible for decision making and the conscious action of an individual. It develops way beyond 18 even till 25 years, and that is the scientific study which is talking about the mental maturity, right? However, something which has happened post Nirbhaya, that was what I was discussing. Post Nirbhaya, the bracket of 16 to 18, but I'm not okay with that fact, because 16 to 18 is the age which is committing an offense which is of heinous nature as per the IPC, where the minimum punishment is 7 years, and then you have to do this preliminary assessment to what exactly you were saying, to understand the mental capacity to commit the offense, the circumstances from which the person has under which that offense has been committed, and the consequences of the offense. So that is there. But you know what is actually happening? Majority of cases, while I worked in Juvenile Justice Board and currently I'm working in Indian Society of Criminology. So majority of cases of heinous offense even today are that under POXO. So what is happening? Children, 16, 17 years old, they are, you know, they are into in love elopement cases, they are into intimate relationship, and boys are being caught and put in juvenile justice system. Girls are with the family, or sometimes they do not wish to go with the family, and they are before child welfare committee. So in one case, the same FIR, the girl is before child welfare committee because it is considered girls are supposed to be protected. However, POXO Act is gender neutral. Nobody is putting a case against the girl child. Nobody is doing that. So when girl child is not an offender, girl child is the victim child, and the boy child same age, say both are 17 years old, and the boy is there in observation home. And if we take up if it is POXO 6, which is heinous offense, 16 to 18, I mean, those boys are sent to adult court. Those boys are sent, maybe they serve 10 years because of the POXO. So a 16-year-old boy is sent for what? Being in love. And that is the majority of cases when you see numbers. So please, when you see numbers are rising, children are coming, children are into relationships. Yes, social media is there. So when social media is not just making children criminal, doing murder, when you see rape, so yes, the case under POXO is that of a rape case, but juveniles are committing rape. But what is that? That is consensual sexual relationship. However, in law, consent is not considered till 18. So till 18, you cannot give consent. So till 18, if you cannot give consent, so till 18, you do not know that you cannot give consent. Legally, they are not aware. So how they could be dealt as an adult? So majority of cases, you could find out, you could do a very basic, you can get that data of NCRB and you will get these numbers. And it will be clear to you. You go get data from Juvenile Justice Board. Heinous offenses, yes, number is increasing. But these numbers are that of, such kind of offense, a heinous offense, which is like murder or robbery, or it is that of rape, and or it is that of POXO. Okay. So that is something which is what is actually happening. So now, and please just keep opening. I would wish to see people, and then I'll be, in a better position to talk. So one thing, now the 16 to 18 bracket was there, but it is not just what is there in the Juvenile Justice Act of 2015. What is introduced is by law. So if you remember, when I started, I was talking about this social background report, right? I discussed the social background report, and where I got that Uma was there, and she was like saying to get to know. So when Beijing rule, it is the international standard guideline to deal with juveniles in conflict with law. So one thing which is there in the that standard guideline, which is talking about the authority who is taking decision for the child in conflict with law at all the time, or for all the decision, must consider the circumstances of the person who has committed the offense, not just the offense. And that is the difference in criminal justice system and juvenile justice system. That is one basic difference. So in criminal justice system, it is the when you adjudicate any case, it is the proportionality of the offense. But in juvenile justice system, it is not just the proportionality of the offense, but also the circumstances of the offender. And that is the major shift. And that is why, so therein the circumstances includes the social circumstances, obviously mental health related aspects, the so what all these studies, what all these theories we were discussing, Honey Madam was discussing, was actually talking about those circumstances, those failure of circumstances as actually, which are the reason of the offending behavior. You know, so if you read those definitions now, in law, there are two categories of children. Those, I mean, the person who has committed an offense under the law is a child offender if below 18, right? And the person, but who is a child in need of care and protection? Not every child is a child in need of care and protection. So child in need of care and protection have defined, there are 12 categories of those children. So those children are also children who are found working in contravention of labor law, who are working as a beggar on street, who are living with a person who has abused or neglected a child, who is a child suffering from any incurable disease. These are what is defined. And the child who has been exploited for any unconscionable gains. Someone was asking me about a child who is committing an offense and coming, I mean, an organized crime group of from a gang member. So actually, as per the law, it is a child who is a child who has been exploited for the purpose of unconscionable gains, and which is a child in need of care and protection as per the definition of a neglected child under the law. So how when this social background report is coming, if you see in this, so the child is produced before the board, and at the time of production, the report containing the social background of the child and the circumstances has to be provided, and then juvenile justice board gives an order for social investigation report. The probation officer has to again prepare a social investigation report. So these two reports are to be reviewed by the board. So when these are the cases which is of petty nature, so a summary inquiry could be conducted, and if it is observed, it is found out, so considered this particular child is coming from a broken family, or is an orphan child, or is a child who is a school dropout. So there are so many circumstances we come across with. So on the basis of that, immediately there are 2-3 things. So one thing, on the day of first production, juvenile justice board could dispose of the case and declare the child as a child in need of care and protection, and send the child before the child welfare committee. That is the provision on day one. Second provision, consider there is a case of where the board thinks ki the trial has to be conducted. Consider there is a child who has committed, who is part of a gang, who is a part of a robbery, or an offense of a different nature, say attempt to murder, attacking with a stabbing or something of that sort is there. However, it is also a scene that child comes from a family, I mean there is no family, child was into drugs, child was employed by adults in the vicinity, and these are the things. So what the juvenile justice board has to do? So now that information is there, that background information is there, circumstances are there, so are you going to wait that case to come to an end and conclusion, and what is going to happen with the child? So therefore, for that there is this provision has been introduced, and it was nowhere before this current provision of this current legislation. So under section 3, it is the power of the board, it empowers the juvenile justice board that for any case at any stage of proceeding, if the board has come to know of that this child require the intervention of child welfare committee, then case will be transferred to the child welfare committee, and both will look at it for the purpose of adjudicating the juvenile justice board. The trial will go on there, but for the purpose of rehabilitation, because you are not going to wait for the case to come to an end and then you think of rehabilitation. Okay, so for that purpose, this juvenile justice board could send the child at any stage of proceeding before the child welfare committee, considering the need of the child, considering the interventions required for the child. So that is why, that is for the purpose of rehabilitation, because whatever has happened, like the child is a delinquent child, so there are so many things responsible, so many reasons are responsible. And when we say, when family fails, it is the responsibility of the state, it is the parent patria, it is the parent, state becomes the parent of the citizen of its country. And when parents are when state could not step in, so consider there is a child who is bad in studies and who has been bullied in school, and or a child, consider there is a child whose parents migrated from village to the city, and child could not get admission. What will that child do? Where would that child go? Definitely the child will, what children and moreover, I now I keep saying, now I definitely I say that juvenile in conflict with law is an urban problem. Majority of such cases are in urban areas. It is not a rural problem. Why? Because of the lack of social safety net. In urban areas, in cities, a child is just child of his or her parents, not the child of anyone who is living next door. But in rural areas, what is happening? A child is child of the whole village. A child cannot smoke. A child cannot just sleep on street. A child definitely will not go to sleep without food. That is the difference between rural India and the urban area. Here, a child smoking, doing drugs, sitting in parks, sleeping under the tree, staying in such place on railway stations for days. So till the time a child protection system doesn't come forward, an individual doesn't. But it doesn't happen there in smaller cities or in villages. People are concerned. So that is all, that also falls on us. So child protection, yes, it is the family, and it is the parents, and if not, it is the state. But it is also, we are also supposed to be, looking around us and doing the needful. And the provisions are there. The provision of child line is there. You just have to call up at 1098. There is a special juvenile police unit. Police knows what they have to do. Now we have child welfare committees in every district. We have district child protection unit in every district. District magistrate is heading the whole child protection system in every district. Any case immediately could be reported to district magistrate. He is responsible. He is supposed to be looking at child line, district child protection unit, and other child protection services, child care institutions, open shelter facility, schools, everything comes under district administration, and therefore child protection is also now comes under the district administration, which is again a shift, and it is a good shift, I would say. So now, but saying all that, since I worked at at Juvenile Justice Board as well as at Child Welfare Committee. So what happens? The thing which I really feel, it is still in doldrum. Like the provision is there. The child who is found as a neglected child, as a child in need of care and protection, if a child is reported directly to the Child Welfare Committee comes up and provide those required interventions. And but when child who is in conflict with law post delinquent period, and when child is considered by the Juvenile Justice Board as actually a child in need of care and protection, there is no specific guideline so far. I mean, Juvenile Justice Board, principal magistrates, and social worker members, they do not know whether they are sending this child, then who is going to, take up the case, whether the child, who is going to bring the child to us, till the trial has to be conducted. How come we send this child to those childcare institutions? Institutions are not aware, they do not understand how come. So the whole, this stigma, this approach, this the very word juvenile is it has blown up like anything. A child sent to a children home, superintendent of that children home comes before the board with folded hand and say, please take that child back, I cannot keep that child. So do you expect such child protection system? How who is going to help that child? And that is the reality, and that is what we have to deal with on day-to-day basis. Okay. So also one more thing, the Child Welfare Committee and District Child Protection Officers and all that District Child Protection Unit, which comes under Mission Vatsalya, and also those members who are member of Juvenile Justice Board, and then there are supposed to be social workers attached with Juvenile Police Unit. So we have so many number of people who are supposed to be aware, who are supposed to be, child protection professionals, actually people who are having understanding of what all we have, we have gone through since morning, all this strain theory and bandura, and what how the experiences are making a person what the person becomes. So we actually require cadre of people who are the experts, who should be sitting and who should be, dealing with cases of children, because they are the most vulnerable, they are the voiceless, and they do not have any agency. I always say we all have an agency, we all have a voice, except these children who are in conflict with law or who are in need of care and protection, they do not have a group to come forward. They cannot come up, they do not even understand their situations and come up and say and seek and claim their rights. Do you expect a child who is on street would ever go to the court and say, I am not being given food for 3 days? It is the responsibility of the state to provide food. It is the right of the child to be fed. It is the right of the child to be protected from all forms. But child, they do not have that understanding, and they cannot have, we cannot expect child to make a group and jatha and go and protest. Definitely they cannot. Then who is going to speak for them? We require people who are working for them to be, to be aware enough and to understand their situation and empathetic towards their needs and understand. I mean, a child is definitely not a born offender. Child becomes offender. And when again I would like to come up to the question of habitual offender. For the very first time when the child has committed the offense of any nature, what was the responsibility of the probation officer? What was the responsibility of the juvenile justice board? What was the responsibility of the district child protection unit or the family? Where was the rehabilitation plan? Where is the individual care plan which was supposed to be there for every child? The counseling facility, there is supposed to be clinical psychologist and a counselor and school admission, all kind of rehabilitative measures are supposed to be taken. Even aftercare is there. When child ceases to be 18 years, then also till 21 years, the child is supposed to be getting, if required, sponsorship and such services from the side of state, if needed, and if required till 23. If child wants to study, that is supposed to be there. That fees is supposed to be paid by the state. That admission is supposed to be there. In Delhi, I mean, I don't want to discuss Delhi, but yes, in Delhi we have come up with certain things, like we have aftercare. Yeah, when we have earmarked around 3 crore rupees and on aftercare. We have reservation of children from childcare institution in Delhi University. So seats are reserved for the child if child would like to undergo graduation courses. So that is a reserved seat for children who are an orphan children, or who and when they are coming from childcare institution. So these are the protective measures which has been taken, but these are on say piecemeal basis. We cannot work for children with so many gaps there. We cannot we it has to be a continuity of services. Okay. And so yeah, caseload is one thing. So when cases are there, cases are coming up, so how to look up at each and individual social background report and social investigation report, these things are there. Yeah, these are the issues. And so now I would like to open for discussion, and then I think it is. Yeah, I see two hands. Abhishek.
Yes, ma'am. It's actually the previous question. So when I said about juvenile being murdering someone from an organized crime sector, what if he knows the consequences? He knows he would get either tried as an adult or mostly slip away in juvenile. Is he still a child of care, or should he be tried as an adult according to the JJ Act?
So, according to JJ Act, when there is a child, whenever there is a child in conflict with law, we never just look at the offense. That is why the bail is the right of the child. Till the time it is not adversely affecting the mental, physical, or psychological well being of the child. Till the time child cannot be put in the observation home, and if apprehended child has to be released on bail, it is the right of the child to be out on bail, right? So we always look at the circumstances which brought the child where the child is. It is always the circumstances. We it is never looked at the of, and in any case it is the allegation, right? So principle of innocence is paramount. There is one quite interesting thing. So uh, everyone has the right to have legal aid represented by a council.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah? Everyone, when there is a trial going on, you are supposed to be represented by a council, right?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
A child cannot sign a wakalatnama. You cannot have a council. You cannot sign a wakalatnama. So here in Delhi, we do have, you may find out in your state what is the status there. So therefore, it is mentioned in the Juvenile Justice Act for children in need of care and protection, as well as for children in conflict with law. Free legal aid is provided. So we do have we do have at Child Welfare Committee right now. I have 3 councils attached with us. Similarly, in all the juvenile justice boards, district legal service, Delhi State Legal Services Authority have appointed legal aid council to represent children. So that is one thing, that is their right. That is what has been understood, but that is not there since always. And I don't know what is happening in other state. So when there is the legal representation is not there, I mean, whether you have committed an offense or not, where is the principle of natural justice? Where is the right of defense? So why it is always considered the allegation, meaning by, because the person doesn't know how to speak, because the person doesn't know how to defend, then that person doesn't become an offender. And also again, there are 2 ingredients of the actus reus, the mens rea and actus reus has to be proven. I'm sure every trial, if you ever get to sit in a board and in a proceeding, I'm sorry, I mean, I don't want to get into that. I have I was part of it, but it is still very sad when you go and talk to the child, then you realize how difficult it is for them, how difficult it is for them if they are caught in an organized crime gang, how difficult it is for them. It is very difficult even for an adult. Where would that child be? There was a case in that, I mean, that was quite a highlighted one in Delhi. So while I was at the juvenile justice board, so there was a case where the child was part of a gang, and there was a name and everything. So every attempt to murder case, this case 397 IPC was there. So 1302 was also there. Few adults were part of it. Then we started talking to the child, and later on we got to know father died, mother expired lately due to cancer. And he was earlier years he went there. He obviously he was young. He was 14 years old, and he liked to have a bike, and he liked to have a phone and all that, and to flex. All that is there. We know that's why they do what do they do, because obviously there was no adult supervision, and mother was also suffering. He wanted to leave, and he was like, मैं छोड़ नहीं सकता हूँ. The day I will leave, they are going to kill me. So in many cases, children involved in theft, drug. So police needs to come up. Police needs to understand. Essentially, police needs to understand. So there is a provision, the offences against children, which is part of this act, and it is understood that gangs are actually recruiting young people and children many a times. So there is a, so FIR needs to be registered, but what to do? I mean, Section 83 of Juvenile Justice Act is actually talking about it, where any self-styled militant group or outfit declared, or any gang recruits or uses any child for any purpose, shall be liable for rigorous imprisonment for a term which may extend to 7 years, and shall be liable to. It is a cognizable offence. There is a imprisonment of 7 years and a fine of 5 lakh rupees if anyone is recruiting any child for any antisocial activity under Section 83 of the JJ Act. So police needs to register FIR, no, for those adult ones, those who are big shots. So therein the role of Juvenile Justice Board, the courts, the Child Welfare Committee institution is very, very important. We need to have such institutions where children are there, where children are being kept, and in such difficult circumstances where they cannot go out once. I mean, उनको उनको लाइफ का भी खतरा है. We cannot send them, and we do not send them on bails. So we need to be conscious. We cannot look at children's cases like a case file, and that is something very important.
One more question is that so when the child in conflict with law is brought up before the board, do he or she have to go on the site well to see how mature their mind is when they have committed the crime, or do they know whether they have committed a crime?
No, you please come up with your question again. I missed your point.
When you present a child in conflict before a board,
Hmm.
so particular procedure to put him or her under psychological evaluation to see whether
Hmm.
they have committed a crime, or let's just say he or she might did it out of provocation, or punish
Hmm.
snapped under. So is the psychological evaluation is necessary, or is it just a formality?
So, see, for this, it is very specific. We need to have forensic psychologists to actually to do this, right? A person from a child psychology background cannot do this. But right now, I think in future we will have a better system. We might have a like for even for preliminary assessment. Currently, what is happening, such evaluations are conducted by clinical psychologists and only in cases of heinous offenses and when the child is above 16. In certain but what I believe, in all the cases we need to have such evaluations, and we need to have, maybe, I mean, not necessarily we are having such evaluation to send the child to prison, but to address the underlying issues, to address if there is any trauma, to address if there is any pathological factors which is there, psychopathological, I would say. So but we do not have such people. And again, I would say I cannot give examples of Delhi to, I mean, I'm a bad person if you're learning juvenile justice system from me, because I will give you examples, because we are having counselors, we are having psychologists, two psychologists, clinical psychologists, doctorate, we are having Institute of Human Behavior and Applied Sciences, where we recommend, and we have aims with us. So for like, depending upon the case, we get reports from them. But is it happening everywhere? We are supposed to be having juvenile justice board, and this, I mean, the system has to be uniform everywhere, right? So you're right when you say so, because the provision the so there is a um, criminal responsibility. The age of criminal responsibility is also something. So even for that, for like from 8 to 12, if a person has committed an offense, so the age of criminal responsibility below 8, nothing has been committed by a child below 8 is an offense. 8 to 12, that is there the 8 to 12, that is where the psychological evaluation needs to be done. But who is doing that? How it is happening? What is actually happening? We do not know. You do not know. You just know what is there in the newspapers, that these many children are committing heinous offenses, children are committing rape. Are they consensual offenses where both adolescents are involved? We do not know. Children are part of the gang. I mean, they are part of the gang, or gang is recruiting them or not letting them, you know, go anywhere. Who is responsible for that? Whether there is any FIR, if there is a child who is part of the gang, why not there is an FIR against the gang head under section 83? Why it is not being done? So, but what actually is happening, whether the child is having family, whether the child was going to school, whether there was any action, any orders taken for that purpose, whether there is a legal representation of the child, whether the child was actually an offender, or he was just, you know, the allegation was put up. So one, two, three cases which is quite highlighted and which is there, you know, you are a student of criminology, you know, I mean, crime is there and it is going to be there, it is bound to be there. It is there since time immemorial.
Yes, ma'am. Like ML have dirty quote societies
So,
and crime. Right.
yeah, but then when a child is committing it, that is something we need to know why. We cannot just rely on what is social media is talking about and what is newspaper is talking about. Like there is now so much of news around women committing crime against their husbands. It is, I think it is getting more hit, I mean, that is why the number can not be equated with the crime committed against women. That is why there are those special provision and special law, and the Constitution of India has also recognized the vulnerable condition of women and so that of children, and that is why we have special laws for them. So something different is getting more hits on YouTube, on these channels. So that is what is happening. Yeah, any other question? Participants.
Thank you for the
There was one question. Thank you for the question. Often can I history calendars be into child protection? Ani ma'am, if she's there, she should answer. Yeah, Harsha's question, India needs greater public awareness campaign or reform in institutional practices to address the stigma surrounding child in conflict with law. If so, yeah, definitely. I mean, why recently? I mean, everyone, you must be having your mobile phones with you. Just do a quick this thing. What is the percentage of children in our country? Anyone coming up with that answer? It's somewhere around 50, more than that.
Ma'am, number of is like 24 to 32%. It's showing.
What is it? What you have?
Number of children like in our India
Number
population.
of children, 24%.
Our
No,
in India, 24 to 32% of population is children's.
no, it was more than 40. Anyways, so as per NCRB data, what is the percentage of crime committed by children?
It's
Yeah.
34,784.
What is the percentage? Thirty-four thousand. Say, keep it 35,000. What is the
It was
population of India?
34,878. The total number was that.
Consider it 35,000. So
Okay, ma'am.
35,000 of all the offense. And what is the NCRB data speaking about the offense committed in general? I mean, I'm just telling you to check the percentage of it you can check it yourself later even. So basically, it is the whole concept of juvenile justice, though it has been introduced for, I mean, 170 years. Just look at it. I mean, it is considered in 1850 that children require special treatment, and there was, I mean, they are neglected ones, and that's why they are not actually doing it because they thought about it and they are the hardcore criminals or something like that. So, but still, we have not, we have not done much for those neglected ones, and I really feel we lack professionals in this whole child protection system, in whole this juvenile justice child protection system. We do not have the cadre of people with that protection, with that professional mindset. So we need more such people, and I really wish in future we have a cadre, we have an all India cadre of child protection personnel, where we have where we have forensic psychologists, where we have people from behavioral sciences, also criminology, social works, people in specialized area of juvenile intervention. Then we may see a better situation which understand the why. No, not why did you do it, why you have come to this, why you have done this. What was those circumstances which led you to come to this point? So yeah, any other question, or otherwise I think I'm done with my session.
Ma'am, I think the questions are over. And shall we conclude, ma'am?
Yeah, please.
I would like to formally place on record our heartfelt thanks to our speakers, Dr. Hunny Matiyani and Ms. Deeba Naseem, for delivering such an enriching lecture. Thank you, ma'am. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of a special guest, Dr. Shubhra Sanyal. Dr. Sanyal is an accomplished academician and researcher in the field of criminology with an extensive experience in teaching, research, and writing on crime, criminal justice, and allied disciplines. Her scholarly contributions have significantly enriched criminological discourse through their interdisciplinary perspective and practical relevance. We are honored that Dr. Sanyal has kindly agreed to spend a few minutes introducing her newly published book, Crime and Criminality: A Mirror to the Criminal World. The book presents a multidisciplinary examination of crime, exploring its psychological, social, and institutional dimensions, covering a wide range of themes including criminal profiling, juvenile delinquency, crimes against women, terrorism, cybercrime, prison culture, and offender rehabilitation. It offers valuable insights into the complex factors that shape criminal behavior. May I now request Dr. Shubhra Sanyal to kindly share a few words about her book and her thoughts with all of us. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible, ma'am. You're audible, ma'am.
And visible also.
Yes, ma'am.
And visible also? Yeah. Thank you very much. So you
So I think there's been a technical issue, and we'll wait for a minute.
Hello. Can you hear me? Am I
Yes, ma'am.
audible?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. You are audible, ma'am.
No, okay. I
Thank you,
was
ma'am.
getting out all the time. So let me just, briefly tell you all regarding my book. And first and foremost, I would like to thank, the whole Indian Society of Criminology Board of Members, Dr. Allen, the President, and all the members for giving me the opportunity, to share my 54 years of experience in criminal psychology. And I was listening intently to my student Hunny, the way she was speaking. Very well done. And all others, even Deepika, the comprehensive lectures. Now, I just was seeking an opportunity where I can share this book. And it is on Amazon and in the publisher's thing also. The book talks about the criminal propensity scale, which is one of its type in India. The development of the criminal propensity scale I started when I was working in an ICFS because I had a large sample of prisoners, adult prisoners, and then I compared it with Isaacian theory and compared it with a normal sample. You will find everything in that book, the development of the criminal propensity scale, where, I speak of crime as a learned behavior. As a psychologist, I never said, I never taught that crime is genetic. Criminal behavior is a learned behavior and it's a conditioned behavior. So the scale itself speaks of how criminal propensity develops in an individual. I was hearing all throughout right from morning, both Honey and the next speaker speaking. But the point is this, that the scale speaks of some psychological dynamics. We all individuals have personality traits, which is termed as psychoticism, neuroticism, extroversion, and introversion. Now, what I did in this scale, I took the combinations of this scale and I started testing adult prisoners, even juveniles, when I was working there from 2007 to 2014 in Kingsway Camp as counselor. And then I also tested it on normal group. So the scale is done with internal consistency test, reliability and validity test, and is very popular both in India and outside. Secondly, I would like to highlight that this whole book has 5 units, and these 5 units have 24 chapters. These 24 chapters, they talk about criminal propensity among adult prisoners in the jails, because I was fortunate to get Jawaharlal Nehru Memorial Award after my retirement, which enabled me to travel all over India, and I studied adult prisoners. And there's a book on the reformation and rehabilitation of adult prisoners in India. Besides, the other units, they speak on terrorism, because my book is on terrorism. I've taken out certain chapters from there. Linkage between victim and offender relationship. Cyber crimes also I have discussed there. And more or less, I have also spoken on crime against women, because my paper, of course, all started when I got inducted in criminal psychology. Let me share. In the year 1974, my mentors were Dr. B.N. Chitraj, Dr. Hira Singh, Dr. M.Z. Khan, and Dr. B.B. Pandey, who wrote the foreword for this book. I was fully unaware that women can commit crime. Let me share with you the initiation. But when I started going, I was the first criminal psychologist. When I started going and I watched their face, I watched the tears in their face, then I understood many of them were not criminals. They were victims of a given situation. And that initiated and encouraged me to go on with my work. And I went on doing my doctorate on that, women criminals in India. And then I later moved to other prisons because I was working in Lucknow, Jail Officers Training Institute before I moved. an ICFS MHA. So there and therefore, next I started my thing on, I started working on terrorism. The ministry gave me all permission to work on those who were not terrorists, but those who were assumed to have indulged in terrorism in the Kashmir episode way back in 1988-89. And I also got the opportunity to move to Pakistan to lead India in SAARC conference on drug abuse. So friends, I have been very fortunate to have very good mentors with me. And even after that, I had, Dr. Merajuddin, name very many, they're all on my pen. Dr. G.S. Vajpayee, Dr. Arvind Tiwari, even today sitting with me in an ICFS chamber, we were talking on research and methodology. And later, I got fortunate to share all my thoughts with my students who were in MA/MSc Criminology. Hunny was one of them. Shrikar was another, where I shared and poured out my thoughts. And even today, when they talk, I feel proud that they are my students. So friends, this book has all my emotions in it, all my thoughts in it. And this book is on the public domain. Later, the last chapters that I have spoken is of the reformation and rehabilitation that you people are speaking continuously in various prisons in India. I also spoke of rising crime among juveniles in India, because I have noticed with my own eyes the way it is being encouraged by the own parents. The situation, the parents. Let me discuss one thing with you all before I conclude. I just want to take not much time. I just want to initiate and encourage you that take an opportunity to read. Try to get it in the library of your universities. And you read what I'm trying to spell out all these 54 years. That crime is a learned behavior. It is a conditional behavior. And every individual, whether you and me, we all have criminal tendency in us. Only thing, the propensity sometimes may be less, sometimes more. There's a combination, in the scale where we talk of introversion, extroversion, that I just now said psychotism and neuroticism. Whenever it becomes high, there's a ego. I'm okay, you're not okay. The moment one person starts saying, I'm okay, you're not okay, and becomes stubborn, doesn't want to share emotions, don't have any sense of guilt, go on committing crime, or crime not, I won't say crime, offense, that person has a chance of moving to high criminal propensity. And I've noticed it in the prisons where I used to sit with the offenders and speak. Not all were habitual criminals. They were long-termers, but they were reformed. There were many who have gone into assimilation of prison culture. They have become prisonized and they enjoy the prison culture. You can tell them that they are the ones who commit crime and come back to prison just to enjoy the prison culture. They are the habituals. Otherwise, sitting with the prisoners, I've noticed many have done crime under a provocation. And they have reformed. I will share a case with you all because there are many cases. I want to take more time. I was sitting in Bhopal jail. J.S. Vajpayee ji helped me to get into that. And 5 days, I saw a prisoner, convict, life-termer, always waiting for me to sit and talk to him. I felt he needed me. He wanted to share his feelings. He told me that I've learned all the trades in this prison. Farming, craftsmen, mechanical, everything, gardening. So I said, now what do you want to adopt after release? He said, nothing, I'll go back to my farm. I know I've committed the crime because it was a matter of revenge, but I'm changed. My relatives come to meet me. Now, friends, one thing I want to say is some internal. When a person gets confined in a jail, if the family members go on coming and meeting, the person draws strength from the family. I've noticed women crying when they used to see the family members of other women coming and their members are not coming. So I noticed this man used to draw strength from his family and said, मैं तो चला जाऊंगा साहब. मैं जाके बैठूंगा और मैं अपना काम करूंगा. And I won't commit any further crime. So there are people who are getting reformed, restored back to their homes. And there are people who, do not want to change. You can call them psychopaths, primary psychopaths, according to psychological terms. And they enjoy the prison culture. They develop gangs inside the jail. Often you will find news coming of jail riots, jail escape. It is these people who do it. They form a gang inside. So this is enough. But what I want to, if I go on talking, then you people will go on thinking that I'm going to a monologue. But what I'm trying to convey, if you start reading, particularly the development of criminal propensity in individuals, you will understand that this happens in the situation a person is placed. This happens when the person gets conditioned and motivated. And this happens when the person is repeatedly doing it and going unpunished. So he is developing a reinforcement. He's getting a reward from what he's doing. And that is how crime gets conditioned into his behavior. These all things I have taught in various places. I've shared with my students. I've shared in the book. I was hearing about the last speaker talking of juveniles. I got a project from the Ministry of Women and Child on children in conflict with law. And I used to sit with them in Kingsway Camp and many other places, and this book came up, the reformation of children in conflict with law. So this is there. Many children, I had got them restored back to their parents. And many parents used to come to the home, Kingsway home, with sweets and fruits and all, and used to tell the child, yahi raho, yahi raho. So I used to interview the parents and I used to say, tum kyun kehte ho yahan raho? This is because if the children come out, they start creating problem and police goes on knocking on our door. So it is better they are safe here. So you see the mindset of the parents. So these are practical views I have collected from various, and I have put them in that book. So I would like to say once more that you people have a look at the book. You are as students, as professionals, as researchers. And if you have any questions to ask, my phone number is there with the society. You can always ask me. And even now, if you want to ask me, I'm there. If I have some time. Because I was listening right from morning, Hunny and Deepika. So if you have any questions, I'm willing to share.
Shubhra ma'am, Deeba this side, and I met you while I was working with women and child development, and you used to come there for children in conflict with law at Kingsway Camp. I think might not be remembering me, and at that time, integrated child protection scheme was launched, so yes. And yes, I've learned there while sitting with you over there, and thank you so much, ma'am.
I feel very happy, when somebody comes out and says. And you know what happened? The last I got one after the other, so many projects. The Jawaharlal Nehru was related to prison. Then Women and Child Development gave me 2 projects, one after the other. The last one that talks about children, I made a comparative study of children in conflict with law and children in care and protection. So, this was handed by an NGO. Somewhere down the line, the ministry did not accept it. So it's still lying in the ministry. I'm trying to say, okay, you do not give any money to anybody, but let me publish the thoughts. But let's see what happens. It is there in the ministry. But I want to say the insight that when I used to sit, the moment I used to enter gates, they would say, Mataji aa gaye, and they used to come running and clinging on me, sitting around, leaving all the classes. But what I used to see, intently, I used to watch the eyes of the juveniles. सब नहीं तैयार होते सुनने के लिए. All were not there. They were frolicsome.
There was a program. There was a youth skill development program you were conducting at that time.
Yeah.
I remember it was some UN approved program was there. It was.
Yeah, I was there. But you know what, Deeba? I used to watch the behavior. And if you ask me, no, I'll be taking more time, people will get tired. That when all used to disappear, khane ka time hota tha, people, one used to come, chalo, lunch lag raha hai, chalo. One or the other used to come and sit to me, crawl near my, then used to look at me and, I used to feel, kya baat hai? I said, ma'am, my parents are not approaching, I want to go home. Then, I used to meet the superintendents. Fortunately, I have very good superintendents friends. I used to say, you call the parent, I will talk. So the parents used to come, then I used to hand over the child, making them say that, yes, I will not let the child. I said, put him in the school. He wants to go back. Give him the love. This is not the place where he will get the love. He will learn because he will accept me, accept my words. The prison or these government institutions are the learning points of crime. So, this is how I've restored many a people back to their homes, many. And you will find in my book, I have mentioned about rise in crime among juveniles, and I've also mentioned about parent-child attitude relationship, which is very, very much needed. Okay? Anything else? Anyway, if you have any questions, sorry? Any questions? One thing I must again, mention back before I end up, that try to understand the scale. Try to use it when you are doing research. Have the scale in your library. It has both in English. It is based on Isaacian theory. And I was also fortunate to meet Isaac in England. And I sent him the format in a rough condition and he approved it. So in the Indian setting, I just modified and adapted it. And of course, Dr. Khan suggested to me that Dr. Sanyal, do not mention TPQ for children. आप उसको कहिए behavioral modification or behavioral analysis of juveniles. So उसको उस तरह बोला गया. But it is actually the criminal propensity scale in the Indian setting. And this is fast, being used in India, and if people are asking from outside. You will, once you go through this questionnaire, you will understand that where the things are lying, and the map and the diagrams are there. And anyway, you have any problem, I'm always available, even at the mid of the night, to help you all. And once again, go through it. I thank you. This 5 units contain 24 chapters, and all the 24 chapters are holistic in their own. You look at it. Whenever you feel free to talk to me, I'm still guiding people. I will always guide you. I will guide you there. So once again, I thank the board of members of the Indian Society of Criminology, the secretary, Dr. Ellen, the president, and basically, formally, all my mentors and my friends who got me inducted in criminal psychology when a young girl of 25 joined from Lucknow University as a psychologist, not even a psychologist, MA in psychology, got inducted in criminal psychology. So this is, I was fortunate to have them all. I'm even now fortunate to have my colleagues, my friends, my students, like Hunny, Shrikar, many others who are always around me to support me. Thank you once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanyal, for introducing us to your remarkable work. We congratulate you on the publication of your book and grateful for your presence and thoughtful reflections today. I am sure many of our participants would find the book immensely valuable in their academic and professional pursuits. For those who are interested, the book is available for purchase on Amazon. As we come to the close of today's session, the Crime, Justice and Society Dialogues, I would also like to extend my sincere gratitude to the leadership and office bearers of the Indian Society of Criminology for their constant encouragement and support in making this lecture series possible. My thanks also goes to all participants, students, scholars, practitioners, and faculty members whose presence and active engagement had made this session vibrant and purposeful. We look forward to your continued participation in these forthcoming dialogues, which promise to broaden perspectives and deepen critical engagement with contemporary criminological lenses. I kindly request all of you to regularly visit the IAC website and follow our official social media handles for announcements, registration details, and updates regarding future sessions. Once again, thank you all for being part of this meaningful session. We look forward to seeing you in the next volume of Crime, Justice and Society Dialogues. Thank you, everyone.
And I also thank everyone here on the platform and my members once again for giving me the opportunity to present my view. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I take my leave. Thank you, Indian Society for Criminology, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.